Okay, hi everyone. Today we're going to continue with our fish line drawings from last week. I have my drawing here, and I want to remind you that we tried to fill the whole space. We used our pencils to draw patterns, lines, and designs to fill in the whole space on the fish. You might also remember that I told you that this week we will be using all of those details to create some textures using metal foil. This technique can simply be called tooled foil. Some people call it chasing, or in French it's called repoussé. So in a few minutes I'm going to give you your drawings from last week, and I'm going to share one of my favorite art supplies with you. I love this stuff. This is called tooling foil, and as you can see it comes in a roll, and it looks very similar to tin foil that you might use in your kitchen at home, only it's really much heavier. I'm also going to give you an old magazine to lean on, since our work tables in the art room are very hard and really bumpy. You will get your own piece of foil that is the same size as your fish drawing, and I have put some old dull pencils on your tables, some old metal kitchen spoons, and some wooden clay tools. When I start working, I'm going to make sure that my magazine is on the bottom of my pile. Next, I'm going to put my piece of foil on top of the magazine. Then I'm going to take my fish drawing and put it on top of the foil. I'm going to add a couple of pieces of tape just to make sure the next step of tracing is a little bit easier. If I didn't use tape, my fish drawing might move and my foil drawing might not look as good as it could be when I finish with it. So okay, now that I've taped my drawing down, I'm going to use one of the dull pencils to trace the entire outline of my fish. I can tell by feeling the foil under my paper that I now also have a line drawing of my fish on the foil. And if you peek inside right here, you can see the line. At this point, I can remove my drawing and draw all of my details in by hand, or I can continue to trace all of the details too. For this fish, I feel pretty confident that I can draw the rest of the details in just by looking at my fish drawing. I might even take a chance and change some of the patterns or lines I drew last week. Maybe I might like the new ideas a little bit better. So now you can see my foil and you can see the outline of my fish. I want to show you what happens if I forget to lean on my magazine. If I just put my foil on the table and begin to add my details, nothing really happens, and oh look, I get bumps from the old wooden tables. So I'm going to try really hard to remember to keep this on top of my magazine. It makes a softer surface to work on, and it just works better. So as I continue to draw in my details, the eye, the gills, my fins, the tail, even the scales of the fish, I still only have an outline. The object is to make this fish as bumpy as you possibly can. So now that I have finished, I'm actually going to flip my foil over and make lines on the opposite side too. I'm going to try some clay tools and see what kind of lines and textures I can create with them too. Sometimes I just like to use my pencil for this project, and that's okay. You can even test a tool out on the edge of your foil first to see if you like the result before you commit to it. Let's see, I want my fish eye to pop out on the front of my fish. So I'm going to use my pencil to sort of color in the space on the back where the pupil is. I'm going to try to stay inside the circle, and look at that, it stretches the foil and makes my eye really pop out on the front. I think for my gills I'm going to do the opposite, and I'm going to draw lines from the front to make them look like they recede or get pushed into the fish, just like real gills, with holes or kind of like an opening. I wonder what will happen if I go over an area for too long, or I poke it or draw it with too much pressure. It looks like I might make the foil too thin, and it might tear or rip. Whoops! If that does happen to you, you can usually smooth it back together with the back of a metal spoon. Sometimes you can even just push it together with your fingernail. If you get really stuck, I'd be happy to help you fix it. So before I give you your foil, I also need to warn you that the cut edges of the foil are very sharp until you finish them. So I expect you to work with the foil responsibly and carefully, not running your finger along the edge. Okay, my fish is done. I flipped it back and forth. I've drawn on both sides. I have a lot of different lines and a lot of different textures and designs. Now I'm going to carefully cut the fish out, which we will probably do next week. And then I'm going to use my pencil to draw small lines all around the edge of the fish, which will make it less sharp. And it also makes a nice finishing touch. It just looks good. So lastly, I'm going to use my hole punch and make a hole and thread a piece of fishing line through it to hang it up. I bet that Mrs. McKay is going to be so happy to have all of your beautiful fish swimming and sparkling from her ceiling next week.